Hello guys, welcome to Online Web Tutor. I am Sanjay. We are learning advanced CodeIgniter for tutorials. This is our part 6. Inside this video, we'll see the concept of role-based login inside CodeIgniter 4. So first of all, to implement this concept, we need to understand that what is a role-based login. Suppose we have an application. Inside that application, we have multiple user roles. Like we have an admin, editor, blogger, author, and we want to give access to all those users to log in inside same application with different credentials. Obviously, their user roles are different. It means they have their own dashboard according to their privileges. So this is termed as role-based login. Inside same application, we are logging with different user roles. Now inside this video, we will see the concept of role-based login. So for this video, we have an article inside blogging website. So if I back to browser, go here, click on blog, or simply click on article CodeIgniter 4 and search for multi-auth, press enter. Now inside this search of multi-auth, we should see an article something called CodeIgniter 4 multi-auth user role-wise login. So if I click on this article is totally from scratch up to application installation up to its testing. So we will follow each steps to see that how can we implement CodeIgniter for multiple authentication. Inside first few steps we have like installation of CodeIgniter 4 and database connectivity. Inside last videos, this is the setup what we have created, and inside this setup we have configured all about this environment variable file as well as database connected. And also we have created this database, and inside this database right now we have few tables. So what I will do, actually we are starting this tutorial very from scratch, so I will delete all these existing tables first. So now we have an application and also we have a database, and this database is connected with this application. Back to article, scroll down. So here we have all about setting the environment variable, what already we had done, and here we have create database and table. So we have a database, and inside that database we need to create a table called tbl_users. So I will copy this MySQL command. Back here, go to SQL tab, pasting it here, and if I press Ctrl Enter or click on Go button, it will create a table with the name called tbl_users. So if you go to structure, here we have the table. So if we click on that table, go to structure. So inside this table we have few columns like name, email, phone number. Here we have a role column which is enumeration type, and inside this role we have specified that when we do any entry, it will be either an admin or editor. Right now we have two user roles. According to your need, you can specify multiple user roles inside this role column. Here we have the password and created at. So successfully we have created this table. Now next we need to connect. Already we have done. After creating table, now we need a data seeder. What is the role of a seeder inside CodeIgniter 4? Simply, seeders are used to seed dummy data inside any specific table. So right now, we are creating a user seeder which will be used to seed dummy data inside our users table. So I will copy this command, back to terminal, paste it here, pressing enter. So now we have created user seeder file. If I back to editor, go and reload. To find that created file, go inside this app folder, database folder, seeds folder, and here we have user seeder. If I back to blog article, so here is the complete code of user seeder.php file. So I will copy, go here, remove this existing code and pasting this new updated code. Inside this code, what actually we are doing, simply here we have the namespace. This is all about our parent seeder class. Here we have loaded our model, so we need to create the model as well. Back to blog article, scroll down. So here we have set application model. So I will copy this command, Back to terminal, paste it here, pressing enter, and user model already exists in our setup. So what we do next, simply I will copy the whole code of this user model, clicking it here, back to editor, go inside this setup. All the models file we will find inside this models directory. Here we have the user model. So I will remove the existing code and pasting this new updated code. Inside this code, here we have specified the table name. We have the table as tbl_users, and here we have all the columns what we have inside this database table. Back to article, and before that, if we go inside this user seeder, now we have loaded our model what we have created. Inside this user seeder, we have a run method. When we execute this seeder file to see dummy data via terminal command, so Spark command always look first this run method. Inside this run method, we are simply creating an instance of user model, and by the help of this insert batch method, we are inserting two rows of users. This is first user, second user. Look at the rule. This is an admin and this is an editor. So we are inserting two dummy users inside our users table with different user role. Go here. All we have done with the seeder file. This is all about seeder file. Now we need to seed this dummy data inside our table. So right now inside this table, we don't have any data. So to seed any seeder file, this is our command. We need to specify only about the seeder class name. So PHP Spark DB seed. In this case, we want to seed our user seeder file. So that's why we have specified user seeder. Pressing enter. Data seeded successfully. If you back to table, click on browse. And as we can see that inside this table, we have two users with these dummy details, and look at the role. This is an admin and an editor. If we want more than one user roles, simply we can specify here inside this structure, inside this role column, and we can work. Now the next step we have called routes configuration. So before routes configuration, we want user controller. So what I will do, simply I will copy all these routes, go here, open up the file routes.php from this config directory. Here is the file, and inside this file I have pasted all these routes. Let's understand what these routes means. So first we have a login route. This login route we will hit by using get request type and post request type, and this login route is basically calling the login method from user controller. And also here we have applied a filter called no auth. So why we are calling two request type for the same method called get and post? Because by using get request type, we will display a layout, let's say login form. But after submitting login form with a credential, we will hit the same method called login, but this time we will proceed with post request type. Next we have the admin route. Here as we can see, we have admin as a group, and when we type localhost admin, then it will call admin controller and index method. Now we have editor routes. When we log in via editor user role and type editor into URL, it will call editor control and index method. These two groups, the first group is all about admin routes and the second group is all about editor routes. We can specify more than one route inside this block. Right now we will only see all about welcome page, and finally here we have the logout method, means the logout route. So from these routes we need a user controller, admin controller, editor controller, and all these respective methods. Like inside the user controller we need login and logout method. Inside this admin controller we need index method. Inside this editor controller we need index method. So apart from controllers, also we need two filters called no auth and auth. So after writing all these routes, if I back to blog article, we have set application model. Now we need to configure our filters. we need two filters, auth and no auth. So inside this first step, we are setting all about our auth filter. So copy this command, back to terminal, pasting it here, press enter. So auth filter created successfully, and this auth filter will be stored inside this filters folder and auth.php file. So if I back to directory, close all these files first, we need to go inside this app directory, filters folder, and inside this filters folder we can see we have auth.php. This is the by default generated file. So what we want, simply I will copy all this code from this here, go inside, replace with this new updated code. So inside this auth filter, what actually we are doing, inside this before method, simply we are checking that if currently we are logged in or not. We are checking via is logged in method variable, and here we are checking that is logged in. If it is set, if it has some value, then it's okay. Otherwise, if it has no value, here we have not symbol, this is logical not. If is logged in is empty or it is not accessed, it has no value, so in that case we need to redirect on login route. So by the help of these three lines of code, simply we are checking that if we have a valid login or not. If this variable does not exist, then we need to go inside this login route. That's all for this auth filter. Back to blog article. Now next we need to create a no auth filter. So I will copy this command, back to terminal, execute that. Now it has created no auth filter. So go here. As we can see, we have a new file, no auth. I will copy the complete code from here, go and replace with that, and simply inside this no auth, what we are doing inside this before method, simply here we are checking is logged in again. This time if is logged in exists, if it has some value, then we will go inside this block. But inside this auth filter, if this variable does not exist and it has no value, then we need to go inside this block. So let's say that is logged in exists and it has any kind of value, so go inside this block of no auth filter. Inside this block we are checking that the user role. Also we will store a session variable called role inside session. So after login we are checking that inside session if we have variable with the name called role, and inside that role if we have value equals to admin, then we need to go inside this route. Otherwise if role equals to editor, so in this case we need to go inside this editor route. So simply by using this no auth filter we are checking that the logged in user, if it is equals to admin, go inside this route. If it is an editor, go inside this route. That's all. Back to blog article. Now next we need to register our filters what we have created. So simply I will copy these two lines, go here, go inside this config folder, filters.php, and inside this filters.php add those two lines at header. Next we need to add auth and no auth inside this aliases. Go here, search for aliases and add those two lines right here inside this array. Why we have added? Because inside our controllers file, inside route file, if we go inside routes.php, as we can see that we have used filter equal to auth and filter equal to no auth. These two are the keywords, or let's say aliases name. These are the aliases. Let's say no auth is the alias for this no auth class, and no auth has its own code because it is a filter. Go to blog article. We need to create a register custom rule, and this is the rule to check a valid email and the password. This is the rule for user validation. It means when we put the login credentials inside our login form, so by the help of this rule we will validate that the user credentials are valid or not. That user what entered the detail inside database exists or not. So simply I will copy this command, Back here, pressing enter, it has created a validation folder inside application directory, and inside that validation folder we have a file called userrules.php. Back to editor, close all these files first, app directory, validation, and here we have the file. What I will do next, simply I will copy the whole code and replace with this new existing code. Now inside this class file called userrules, we have a validate user method, and inside this method all these parameters we are passing. So inside this data array variable we will get email address and the password. At the first step, simply here we are loading or creating a user model instance. By the help of this model instance, we will check that if we are passing the email address inside login form, that email exists or not. If suppose that email does not exist, we are returning false value. Otherwise, we are comparing password what we have inside our database. Go to blog article. Now next we need to create, or simply this is the validation what we have created, custom validation. Now next we need to register this custom validation inside application. Otherwise we will not allow to use this rule what we have created. So to register, go inside config folder, we have validation.php file, and add this class, add this line at header. Go to editor, config folder, here we have validation.php, and inside this validation.php, inside this file, basically we register all the rules what we have inside our application. So right now we have created one custom validation called user rules, so we need to register inside this validation.php. Here we have a question. Question is that why we are registering this validation, and also earlier we had discussed that we have created two filters called auth and no auth. So why we have registered inside this filters.php? It is because we are creating custom like filters, custom validation rule. But to use in application, first of all we need to tell our application that we have some filters and some custom validation rules. So for registering those things, here we have the filters to register our filters, validation to register custom validation rules. So here we have imported. Now next we need to write this line inside this rule sets array. So copy, search for rule sets and passing it here. Now next, application controller settings. As we had discussed earlier that we need three different controllers. First is all about user controller. Inside this user controller we will have login and logout method. Pressing enter, user controller created successfully. Copy this admin. So this admin controller is handling all about admin routes, and this is editor. Editor controller will handle all about editor routes. So successfully we have created three different controllers. All the created controllers we will find inside this controllers directory. So here as we can see that we have admin controller, editor controller and user controller. So one by one we will work on each controller. So first of all, if I back to blog article, this is all about for our user controller. So what I will do, I will copy the whole code of this user controller, and here we have slight mistake inside this article is that while running this command actually it is creating user controller, not only user only. So here we need to update its user controller.php and also here user controller.php and also with the class name. So after this video I will update this article too. So I will copy this whole code. Go here. First of all, let's open up the controller called user controller, pasting these all updated code, and the next we need to do the changes called user controller. Inside this user controller we have a login method setting all about session values, and here we have logout method. Inside this login, here we are checking with the get request type and post request type, because inside routes.php the same method is used for get request type and post request type. Simply to render our layout, it will use get request type, and at the first time this method will load login.php view file. But when we pass our credentials, click on submit button, it will go and hit this block called with the post request type. Here we have the email address and the password what we will take from our login form. Inside this password, look at our custom rule what we have added called validate user. Inside this method we are passing email address and the password, and by the help of this method actually we are checking that both those two details are valid or not. So in case if it is not valid, we will get an error called email or password don't match. Otherwise we will able to log in, go inside here, creating a model instance. First of all, setting all about session variables, and inside this method, inside this set user session, as we can see here we have a variable called is logged in, and by the help of this variable actually we are checking in our filters. Also inside our session we have one more variable called role, and inside this role we are checking inside our no auth filter that the role is admin or it is an editor. So this is the use of setting session values. Here after setting our session values, we are checking the user role. If it is admin, go inside this admin route. If it is an editor, go inside this editor route. And inside this user controller we have one more method called logout, and simply this method will destroy all the session values what we have set here, and after destroy it will redirect the user to login route. And one more update we will do, something we will change this message, and the message is something email or password that is didn't match. Actually these are the things, these are the changes also I need to do inside this article. So after this video I will update. So this is all about user controller. If I scroll down, next here we have auth controller, admin controller. So I will copy the whole code, go and open up the file called admin-controller.php, remove this existing code and paste this updated code. So right here inside this admin controller we have a construct method. Inside this construct method here we are checking that inside admin controller the user role is admin or not. If suppose the user role is not admin, so in that case we will not allow to access this admin controller, because this controller is going to handle all admin operations, and all admin operations should be accessible for admin only. So other than admin user role, they say this will be the message called access denied. Otherwise inside this controller we have one more method called index. It will render dashboard.php view file. Again go inside this blog article. Next we have editor controller. So I will copy the whole code, open up the file called editor controller, replace with this existing code. Again inside this editor controller we are checking that this controller should be accessible only for editor. If the user role is not equals to editor, then this message will display called access denied. One more method we have called index, and by the help of index method we are calling this view file called editor, means from the folder editor we have the file called dashboard.php. Again go here. Now we need to finally set our application view files. So we need few folders. Let's say here for this dashboard page, in case of admin we have admin folder. For an editor we have editor view folder. So go inside this views directory, creates few folders, that is first for the admin called admin, and we need one more folder called editor, and this is not actually, I think we have created something wrong here. So let's create a folder, go inside this views folder, create a folder with the name editor, and we need some view files inside these respective folders. So first of all we need to create a parent layout. So parent layout we will create inside layouts directory. So we need to create a layouts folder inside this views directory. Let's say layouts. Inside this layouts we need a view file called app.php, and the app.php contain this whole code. So copy, go and paste it here. Simply inside this view file, this is all about HTML code. Here we have imported some bootstrap links, and simply this is dynamic placeholder for the body content. This code means that the same layout app.php will be used for login for our dashboard view files for this admin and editor. We will use or extend this parent layout. Back to blog article. Now next we need to create a login view file. So go inside this views folder and create a file called login.php. So inside this view directory, I am creating a file called login.php. So I will copy the whole code from this file, go here and pasting it here. This file indicates all about a login form. Inside this file, we have a form, we have email address and password. Otherwise, in case if we get any error, here we have a code to display all about validation errors. And as we can see that we are inheriting our parent layout, something called app.php, which is inside our layouts folder. Inside this body section, which is for the dynamic placeholder, we are replacing dynamically from this piece of block of code which is written inside this body section. So this is all about for login.php. Now next we need for the dashboard, and this time this is the dashboard.php for admin. So go here and let's say that go inside this admin, create a view file with the name called dashboard.php, and inside this file I am writing this piece of code. Simply this is a view file in which we will have a message called hello admin name, and we will have a logout button. Now next I will copy this piece of code for dashboard.php of an editor. Go inside editor directory, we will create a new file, and this will be something dashboard.php, and inside this file the same piece of code, hello editor name, and we will have a logout button. Again go here, and I think all we have done, we have covered all these sections step by step of this article. Now we need to execute our application. So after doing all these things, we have set, if we discuss one more time, firstly we have created an application connected with the database, created a user table, seeded dummy data, created few filters, registered those filters, created some validation rule, registered that validation rule, created a model, configured, and finally we have created controller and the respective view files. So these are the steps what we have covered inside this video. Now next, let's start our development server to test our application. This is not PHP Artisan, PHP Spark, serve, pressing enter, and as we can see that application is started. So if I open into web browser and if I type the URL called login, and by the help of this actually we are hitting get request type. So by the help of get request type inside login method, login form rendered. Now inside this login form we need to pass credentials. So if I scroll down inside application testing, if we pass with the details of admin, and inside this article already we have created some dummy users. So this is the detail for our admin. So what I will do, simply I will copy this email address, pass it here, password, in this case password is from 1 to 8, so I will paste it here, click on submit button, and as we can see that we are on the admin dashboard. If we try to open editor URL here, type editor, as we can see access denied, because this time currently we are logged in with admin details. So when we press logout button, it will call logout method of user controller and destroy all the sessions, and successfully user now redirected on this login page. Now this time if we pass this detail of an editor, copy this, pasting it here, password is from 1 to 8, paste it here, click on submit button. Successfully, as we can see that now we are logged in with that detail, and this is an editor. If we click on here, let's say admin, press enter, access denied. Why access denied? Because we are logged in with the editor details. So if we click on logout button, now we are at the login page, and without login, if we type the URL called admin, it is redirected on the login page, and this is handled by our auth filter. So this is the guys video demonstration of multiple role-wise login inside a CodeIgniter for application. For this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.